This is Eddie Hearn, Matchroom Boxing. You are watching Sporting Icons. You don't need to be anywhere else.
Okay, to follow on from the previous video where Oleksandr Usyk says that it's vitally important that he defeats Anthony Joshua this Saturday in Jeddah, Saudi Arabia for their rematch. Not only just for himself, but the people of his own country, Ukraine. That's an immense amount of pressure he's put on himself. Now, equally, Anthony Joshua has a lot of pressure on himself. I'll say equally, of course not equally, but he has a hell of a lot of pressure, more pressure than he's probably ever had in his entire career. Now, he went through a lot of turbulent times and self-doubts and whatever else after he lost to Andy Ruiz Jr. But again, that's heavyweight boxing. Most people who understand boxing understand that. Those who want to keep on bringing it up like it's something terrible, the fact that he lost to Andy Ruiz Jr., well, that says more about them than it does about anything else and their lack of knowledge when it comes to boxing, in particular heavyweight division. But that said, okay, we knew that he was going to get revenge on Andy Ruiz Jr. Okay, we knew that. With this one, it's different. Very, very different. Because it's not like the risk of any heavyweight fight anyway, where you can just walk onto something in the first minute of the first round to the final minute of the final round. Okay, where you could just be cleaned out by anybody. You really can. But when you got outboxed in the first fight, he's going to have to go through a lot of mental demons. How do I beat this guy? How do I beat him? This is Oleksandr Usyk, for many, pound for pound, number one. For a lot of organizations, pound for pound, number one. But Anthony Joshua is carrying not only the fact that he lost to this guy, only the fact that he doesn't want to let this guy get away with it and he wants to get that victory. And that's more important than the belts. Okay, the belts are secondary in this whole situation for Joshua. They're just like a bonus, I suppose. But it's also he's carrying the weight of his country on his shoulders. The United Kingdom, England, Nigeria. He's carrying the weight on his shoulders. He knows that he has a lot of fans who are banking on him to win. That's keeping them in boxing. Anthony Joshua wins, they keep watching boxing. Anthony Joshua loses, they stop watching boxing. Listen, there are people out there who are quite literally that. And I wish that they weren't in boxing. I don't like glory hunters. I've never liked glory hunters. You don't support somebody just because they're winning. You support them win, lose or draw. For me, those who support Anthony Joshua only when he wins, get the fuck out of here. Because that says more about you and your weak-mindedness than it does about anybody else. But Joshua knows this. He knows that there are a lot of people out there who bank on him to win, who bank on him to be the world heavyweight champion. Also, as Johnny Nelson mentioned as well, that Anthony Joshua, he's in professional boxing to be the number one in the heavyweight division. That's always been his goal. Him losing to Usyk, he's going to have to look in the mirror and say, I'm not number one. It's one thing to lose once. You lose twice to the same guy, you're not number one. And you have to accept that fact. Unless, of course, somewhere down the line, maybe you get a third opportunity. But again, listen, let's be real. Even if Anthony Joshua was to lose, which hopefully he doesn't, of course, I want Anthony Joshua to win. I desperately do. But even if he does lose, there's a very quick route back into it. All he's got to do is make a beeline for a Daniel Dubois, a Joe Joyce Parker winner, a Herkovich Zhang winner, and he's straight back in the mandatory position. Straight away. So there is a quick route back into it, so he could get another opportunity against Usyk. But that's not how he's going to be thinking. He's not going to be thinking further down the line. He's thinking next fight. If I lose, then I'm not the number one in the heavyweight division. Now, some people say, yeah, but Tyson Fury's number one. Okay, that's fine. But there's always that opportunity, potentially, for Joshua to go fight Tyson Fury. So again, that's just opinion. But it's his own opinion that's important. His own opinion is he beats Tyson Fury. That's his opinion. To him, in his mind, he's the number one in the heavyweight division. But to lose again to the same guy, you have to accept reality that there is at least one guy out there who's better than you. Joshua isn't going to be happy being number two, number three, number four, number five, however. Even though you and I, for the most part, we all know that even him losing to Oleksandr Usyk is no shame in that. He's a pound for pound phenomenal fighter. And of course, he's a southpaw in that as well. But the fact is that it's Joshua that's going to feel that way. Okay? But we know that there's still big fights out there for him. There's still the Fury fight, potentially. That's still a mega fight, no matter how this fight goes. There's a Deontay Wilder fight. There's a Dillian Whyte rematch. There's a Joe Joyce. There's a Daniel Dubois. There's still mega big fights. Now, Joshua, he don't need the money. Of course not. And I'm sure that's not even a motivation for him. Because, obviously, I'm sure he's got enough money. Okay? He could retire right now and be very happy. But it's the big fight nights. It's the law. It's the drug. It's the training camp. It's all of it. But he ain't going to be feeling like that. So he's put a lot of pressure on himself. He's got the pressure of the United Kingdom and Nigeria on his shoulders, knowing that if he loses again, a lot of people are going to stop watching boxing. As I said before, that shows more about them than it does about anything else, but that's not how he feels. He's got a lot of pressure on his shoulders, a lot of pressure. He doesn't want to have to go back to Watford without those belts. He's going to feel like he's literally a loser. Because again, there's a lot of people out there who put an undefeated record as something extremely important. Boxing fans, true boxing fans, know that's not the case at all. Even if he was to lose to Usyk, doesn't mean he can't beat Fury. If he was to defeat Usyk, doesn't mean that he defeats Fury. There's so many different variables. But anyway, Joshua's under a lot of pressure, And it's pressure that I'm sure he's not asking for, but he's got his own pressures on here as well. Him inside, he's going to feel devastated that he lost to Usyk. He needs to get that victory back. He needs to be able to stand there knowing that he's defeated every man he's ever faced. Like a Lennox Lewis, for example. Lewis took a couple of losses and he got revenge on him. So far, Joshua has got revenge on his first loss against Andy Ruiz Jr. He's going to want revenge on Oleksandr Usyk. Now, is it all down to Anthony Joshua's game plan? For the most part, but of course not as well. What's Usyk's game plan? We don't know what Usyk's game plan is. I imagine his game plan is going to be pretty much the same as it always has been. Regardless of the pressure that he's put on himself, Usyk fights the way that he fights. He can't make too much changes. But anyway, both fighters are under a lot of pressure. That makes this a must-win for both of them. The thought of losing for either one of them is not even thinkable. It really isn't. Anyway, that's my thoughts. You drop me yours. Click thumbs up, subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next video.